Thanks for watching DIY Bride. In this episode, I'm going to be texturing the walls of my garage. This is kind of a video series of updating my garage from just an average garage to going through and painting the walls, texturing the walls, and also epoxying the floor, adding toolboxes. Basically what I'm trying to do is get my at-home garage into a much better working space for me. And in part of that, I wanted to clean everything up and texture the walls. Alright guys, so now I wanted to talk to you about the tools that I used and the tools that you would need to do a project like this. First off, you need a hopper gun. Now there's lots of different brands of hopper guns out there. I picked this one up from the Home Depot for about 70 bucks. You need a basic bucket to mix your compound in. And then this is a 24-inch mixer. These cost about 12 bucks to mix your compound up. And then you need some all-purpose compound. I prefer to buy these in the boxes. It's like less than $9 a box versus buying it in the buckets a little bit more, where you're having to mix water into it anyway to make it a little bit thinner. I prefer to have it in a box. You need some drywall putty knives, and you also need a drill, and you need some sort of air compressor, whether you do something like this or you use a larger air compressor like I have over here. You need an air compressor for the hopper gun. That covers the tools. The only other thing I can think you might need is, depending on your project, you might want to put some plastic down on the floor or plastic to cover anything that you might not want to have the texture on. Other than that, that should cover all the tools that you need. So again, you've got about 70 bucks here, 15 bucks here, and $9 a box into this. Now, assuming you already have a drill and you have some putty knives and you have an air compressor, this is a project that's going to cost you, depending how many boxes of product you use, about 100 bucks, $150, depending on how much product you use or what brand of hopper gun you go with. You're going to range this project cost. But definitely, if you've got a garage, average size garage, you can do it for under 150 bucks. As far as the time that it takes to do it, it's definitely a day project, not even a day. You can go through and spray the texture fairly fast. Now the ceilings and stuff take a little bit more time because you're getting up and down off of a ladder. So that's an additional tool that you might need depending on your project, is a ladder. Alright, so this is what the hopper gun looks like. And basically you just clamp the bucket on the top there. Now, I've seen guys for different hopper guns come with like a rubber hose attachment that goes between here and here. A lot of them have like a bend in the neck, like a 45-degree bend that allows you to be able to do ceilings a little bit better. You can put the bend to where the bucket's more like this. It's going to be easier to spray than keeping it angled like this. Sometimes the compound's going to want to work out of it. I was able to do the ceilings without a 45-degree bend. However, that would have been kind of nice to be able to angle the bucket a little bit like this. So you may want to pick up an adapter to do that if you're going to be doing a lot of ceiling work. It might make your project a little bit easier. Alright guys, so later in the video I'll show you some tips that I learned for varying how big the splatter is on the wall. I went with kind of a little bit bigger of a splatter, somewhere in the middle, and then put it on fairly thick. The walls were kind of beat up to begin with, and before I textured the walls, I went through with a putty knife and filled a lot of the bigger holes. The walls, this garage is like 16, 17 years old, and we've kind of beat up the walls a little bit. So before I sprayed the texture, I went through and filled the bigger holes. The texture on fairly thick and fairly even throughout the entire wall. So watch the video, it'll kind of give you some idea of how to adjust the texture a little bit. And then you want to also play with a sample area so that you can, you know, get a big piece of cardboard or a board that you're going to throw away and keep spraying the gun, using the gun until you get the desired look that you go for before you actually spray the wall area that you're going to be spraying. Okay guys, so I'm in the stages of getting the walls ready for paint. I'm doing a spray texture on the walls. Rather than finish these walls with 3 coats of mud and tape and completely sand them, they were already had 1 coat of tape and mud on the walls, and that seems to be how most garages are. I picked up one of these hopper spray guns. It sprays texture on walls and the ceilings. This is the first project I've done like this. You can see I've put this plastic sheet down. That's like a 6 mil, I think. Yep, it's a 6 mil plastic sheet. Because I'm going to epoxy the floors, I didn't want to get the cement any messier than I had to. So what I'm going to do is just show you guys kind of how this is done. So a few things I've done is I've gone through and just kind of taped over the garage mechanisms there so I don't get any texture on the rails. And then I've also taped the window there so that I don't get any texture on the window. And a few things that you kind of got to figure out when you're doing this. To get the texture that you want, you know, how much mud you want, how big the splatter is, there's a few ways to control the splatter on how big of a splatter that you want on the wall or how even of a splatter that you want. The gun comes with a few attachments. These tips go inside the gun there, and this one is the biggest hole and this one here's the smallest. I have the medium-sized tip inside there, and that controls how big the splatter is on the wall. The other thing that controls it is how thick you make your mixture. Now I've just been using this general all-purpose joint compound. This already comes pre-mixed, but it comes pre-mixed to cover the walls like a normal mud and tape job. So you've got to add water to this and get a little bit thinner so that it'll go into the hopper gun. And basically you just put it into that bucket there, grab your drill and a large mixer and mix it up. Now I've gone through almost 4 boxes of all-purpose joint compound. Okay guys, so one of the other things that controls the how big the texture is how much PSI is coming out of your compressor. Now on my compressor I can adjust this up or down. I can add more pressure to it. You can see this needle's going to go up here, or I can take some away. Now I've found that it seems to work best for me on the texture that I'm going for, and then also how thick I'm making the mixture is just right above 20. And then there's another adjustment on the side of the hopper gun. You have this adjustment here. This also allows you to change that a little bit. So depending on how thick you make your mixture, you may want to have your pressure up or down. What I found is the lower the pressure, the bigger the splatter. The higher the pressure, the smaller, the more fine the splatter is. So if your mixture is really, really thin, then you may want to slow down or lower your air pressure. But if it's real, thick, you may want to raise your air pressure, just depending on the look that you're going for. Okay, so you can see I've got this all-purpose compound, and inside the box is basically a bag of pre-mixed regular joint compound. And this one's pretty much gone, but I'm going to empty the rest of the joint compound into the bucket here. You want to get a gallon of water, and it seems like if you were to take a full box of this, you need about 3/4 of a gallon of water to get the mixture right. So basically, you just add water to the mixture. And then take your drill and mix it up. Okay, and as far as this mixture, you want to get it to where it's like kind of like a pancake mix or a real thick paint. If you're going on the ceiling, you want it maybe a little bit thicker, like a real thick pancake mix. When going on the wall, I prefer to have it just a little bit thinner, kind of like maybe just a thick paint. And sometimes your mixture might be a little bit different between batches, and you have to adjust your air pressure on your gun to get the splatter just right. Okay, so that's about the texture that you want it. This may be a little bit thin for ceiling, but about right for walls. At least for the texture look that I'm going for. You may want it thinner or thicker, just depending on how you're doing it and how you have your air pressure adjusted or which nozzle that you have inside your gun. The other thing that affects how big your splatters are is how far away you hold the gun from the wall. And if you fill this up really full and do the ceiling, your arms are going to get super tired. So I would suggest not having it too full when you're doing ceilings. So depending on how big you want your splatters to be, you're going to either be further away or closer to the wall. And again, you can adjust your pressure on your gun or on your compressor. Once you get down to the lower portion, you don't want the mud to spray on the concrete. Grab a cardboard or an old picture like I got there. And the spatter may be just a little bit thicker than what I want, so I'm going to try turning up the air pressure on my compressor a little bit. Okay, I turned the compressor up a little. Alright guys, thanks for watching DIY Bride. Make sure you tune into the other videos, my other DIY videos. I try to provide you guys with some good tips, a little bit of the cost of projects, and how long it takes. Make sure you watch the rest of the garage transformation videos. Also, I've got a video that's going to be uploaded in the next couple of weeks that's going to cover epoxy in the floor, so you can go through and get an idea of what it would take to epoxy the floor if that's something that you're wanting to do in your garage. I've also got reviews on these toolboxes here behind me, so you can make sure you check out those videos. Some videos on adding some shop lighting into the garage as well, so make sure you check out those. And stay tuned for DIY videos every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Mountain Time.